Hi, lovely to meet you, Sarah from The Upcoming. So, Tonya Harding's story, what fascinated you about it and why did you want to write a screenplay about it?
It didn't fascinate me, not in the beginning. I didn't think anything of it. But I did see a documentary about Tonya Harding that just got me thinking about class in America and what we tell women they're supposed to be, and truth and the perception of truth and what we tell ourselves in order to be able to live with ourselves. But it was framed in a whole lot of crazy, and that appealed to me. And so I went onto the Tonya Harding website to find out if the life rights were available, and I called the number for her agent, and it was a Motel 6. And I just thought, come on, I'm so in. I don't know if they'll ever make this movie, but I'm going to get a good story out of it, you know.
And some phenomenal performances there, particularly from Margot and Alison, as indicated by the nominations. How does it feel for those to have come in, and what was it like having those two involved in the film?
Well, with Alison, I wrote the part for her. I've known her since I was 17. And I've written parts for her before, and she's never gotten to play them idiotically. And when I went out with this script, there was some heat on it. And I got to say, Alison Janney is playing the part I wrote for her, and I want it in writing, or I will not come in and meet you. And I said that before Alison had even read the script, before she even agreed to do it. I just gambled, and it paid off, because now she's up for an Oscar. And with Margot really chased it. You know, she went after it. And watching her on set, because we were a very independent movie. We shot, I think, we had 31 days and we did 265 scenes. So we were doing a lot and we were doing it fast. And Margot would modulate her voice depending on what age she was, and she would modulate her sort of physicality and get progressively defensive depending on what age she was. But she would play 5 different ages in one day. And, she would be 18, 21, 24, 15, all in the same day. And she did it with so little fuss and just so matter-of-factly that I didn't know until I saw the finished product what she was doing. And I was just blown away.
And you mentioned, issues of class, how women are perceived by the media, how their lives play out in the public eye. What do you think this film has to say to a contemporary audience?
What I liked about Tonya's story was that she was very unapologetically redneck, which is her word, in a sport where the judges wanted you to be this very old-timey, pageanty version of what they thought a woman was supposed to be. And she wouldn't do it, and she wouldn't play along. She's like, this is who I am. And she did it at a very young age. When you're that age, all you want to do is fit in. And so I admired the fact that she was just saying, no, this is who I am, and it's good. I was very impressed,
What do you think the challenges are of putting a true story on the big screen? You use a lot of humour, but you also touch on some sensitive subjects like the domestic abuse issue. So, how do you walk this fine line between doing justice to the true story, but also putting a good thing on the screen?
You do feel a big responsibility because I interviewed Tonya and Jeff, and they were nice enough to share their time with me, and you felt very responsible to that. But at the end of the day, you want to tell a good story, But I felt like this story in particular was just such a great combination of being so many things and being really funny and being really sad and being really crazy that I felt like it was a pretty easy. I like juggling all that, so I felt like it was a pretty easy road. I was concerned, especially. I didn't want them to feel like I was ever using them or I took advantage of them. And they both really liked the movie. They both emailed me. And they both saw everything differently. So I was like, okay, good. That's very human, I interviewed Tonya Harding and I interviewed Jeff Galooly. And nobody asked me to. I just did it myself. No one was paying me. And once I did, I found that their stories were so wildly contradictory that I thought, well, that's what I'll do. I'll put everybody's story up there and let the audience decide what's what. It just seemed like it was a really funny story. It was a really crazy story. It was a really tragic story. And it was true depending on whose point of view you believed, And in terms of the structure of it, I just wanted to be very rebellious and wrong-headed because all of the characters were very wrong-headed and rebellious. So I wanted to include all those things that people say you can't do in a screenplay, like break the fourth wall. And at one point, Alison Janney's character criticizes the screenplay and complains that her storyline is disappearing. And it doesn't make sense, and it is unconventional, but it works because it mirrors all of the main characters. No, I never wanted to say anyone was the hero or anybody was the villain. I wanted to say these people were human, and their stories were told without any nuance at all. And so I just wanted to give them that because I felt like they were all reduced to a punchline, you know, and they're just human, like everybody else. Yeah. But I felt like the story was really funny. I was very concerned about what they would think when it was over. Tonya, she saw it with her husband, and she said that she laughed and she cried and she liked some of it and she did not like some of it, mainly the stuff that came from Jeff's point of view. And when Jeff saw it, I was very concerned because he says he never hit her, you know. And in the movie, he says he doesn't hit her, but he also hits her because that's what she says happened. And he said he saw it and he's like, I loved it. He said, I liked it way better than Hope Floats, which is another movie I wrote, because she's very low maintenance, no fuss, and she, you know, so she would really just show up super prepared. She would modulate her voice depending on what age she was. She would modulate how sort of physically defensive she would be depending on what age she was. But we were a very independent, small budgeted movie. We did not have a lot of money. So we did not shoot in order. And there were scenes where she was doing 4 different ages and she would modulate everything. But she did it with such apparent ease. It could not be easy. And with no fuss that I didn't realize until I saw the whole movie. Like, holy cow, look what she's doing. And was a producer on the movie. She would do a scene with the Tonya Harding accent. They would say cut. She would talk about the music cues and this and that with her Australian accent. They would say, we need you on set. She would go right back. No fuss. She's pretty amazing.
You're a real trooper.
Very. Yeah. And her husband who produced it, same. Workers, both of them. It was new and I really don't know anything. I watched the footage and tried to describe it. You know, I could not tell you a triple sow cow from. I think that they're going to get a really funny story, a really tragic story, a really true story that's just framed in a whole lot of crazy and told in hopefully a very unique way. It's well acted and well directed.